5 True Scary Stories of Halloween. I never believed in Halloween curses until October 31st, 2019. That was the night something dragged my mother screaming off a cliff while I watched helplessly with a shattered leg, unable to move, unable to save her. The thing that killed her wasn't human. It had too many teeth, eyes like bottomless pits, and hands that burned her skin on contact. It fed on her before she died. The coroner found bite marks. Welcome guys to Mr. Bone channel. Today's story, I will be sharing 5 true scary stories of Halloween. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel Mr. Bone. If you are new here, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let us continue. The thing that killed her wasn't human. It had too many teeth, eyes like bottomless pits, and hands that burned her skin on contact. It fed on her before she died. The coroner found bite marks, chunks of flesh torn away by human-shaped teeth. But here's what terrifies me most. It didn't just kill her and leave. It marked me. Every Halloween since, I find its muddy footprints leading to my bed, stopping where my head rests on the pillow. It stands there watching me sleep, waiting. And I know, that one day it will finish what it started on Raven's Peak. What happened that night changed me forever. And even now, 3 years later, I still wake up screaming, feeling phantom hands reaching for me in the dark, smelling that sweet rot smell of decay, hearing my mother's final cry echoing in my skull. It started as a perfect autumn evening. Mom and I had driven up to Raven's Peak State Park to see the fall foliage. She'd been diagnosed with stage 3 cancer 6 months earlier, and the treatments had been brutal. But that week, she'd had a good spell, more energy, less pain, a return of her old smile. When she suggested we take our annual Halloween hike, the one we'd done every year since I was 7, I couldn't say no. It might be our last. The park ranger at the entrance booth warned us. "Storm's coming in tonight," he said, his weathered face creased with concern. "You folks should be down before dark. These trails get dangerous when they're wet." Mom squeezed my hand. "We'll be careful, won't we, Sarah?" I was 24 years old, but in that moment, I was 7 again, holding my mother's hand on our first Halloween hike. "Always careful, Mom." We should have listened to him. The trail to Raven's Peak was 3 miles of winding switchbacks through dense forest. The leaves were spectacular, burning oranges, deep crimsons, golden yellows that seemed to glow in the afternoon light. Mom moved slowly, but she was determined, stopping frequently to catch her breath and admire the view. I didn't rush her. Time felt precious, elastic, something to be savored rather than spent. We reached the peak at 5:47 p.m. I remember checking my phone, seeing the battery at 78%, and thinking we had plenty of time to get down before the storm hit. The view from the top was breathtaking. The valley spread below us like a patchwork quilt, dotted with tiny houses whose windows were just beginning to glow with early evening light. "Remember when you were little?" Mom said, her voice soft with memory. "You used to say this mountain was where the Halloween spirits lived." I laughed, but the sound felt hollow. "I was a weird kid. You were an imaginative kid." She pulled out her phone to take a selfie. We smiled, the wind whipping our hair, the cliff edge just visible behind us. "That photo. It's the last picture I have of us together. I can't look at it anymore." In the image, if you zoom in on the background, you can see something else. A shadow that shouldn't be there, a figure standing in the trees. We started down at 6:03 p.m. That's when everything went wrong. The trail that had seemed so clear on the way up had transformed in the fading light. Shadows pooled in hollows, and the wind had picked up, carrying with it the smell of rain and something else. Something organic and wrong, like meat left too long in the sun. "Sarah, do you smell that?" Mom asked, wrinkling her nose. I did, but I told her it was probably just a dead animal somewhere in the underbrush. I didn't want to worry her. I didn't want her to know that the back of my neck was prickling, that every instinct I had was screaming at me to move faster, to get off this mountain. We were about a mile down when I heard it for the first time. Footsteps. Not animal footsteps. These were distinctly human, heavy and deliberate, crunching through the leaf litter behind us. I turned, expecting to see another hiker. The trail behind us was empty. "What is it?" Mom asked, breathing hard from the exertion. "Nothing. Thought I heard something." I forced a smile. "Come on, let's keep moving. I think it's starting to rain." It was. Fat, cold drops began to fall, sporadic at first, then faster. Within minutes, the trail had become slick, treacherous. Mom's movements grew more cautious, her hand gripping mine tightly. The footsteps came again. Closer this time. Definitely real. "Hello," I called out. "Is someone there?" No answer. Just the wind, the rain, and those footsteps keeping pace with us, staying just out of sight. Mom's face had gone pale. "Sarah, I don't like this." "It's okay, Mom. Probably just another hiker. Let's just focus on getting down." But it wasn't just another hiker. I knew it in my bones. Whatever was following us wasn't trying to catch up. It was hurting us, driving us forward like prey. We rounded a bend, and I made my first mistake. In my haste to get us moving faster, I took a wrong turn. The trail split, and I chose the left fork. The one that led to the old observation point. The one that had been closed 5 years ago after part of the cliff face collapsed. By the time I realized my error, we were too far down to turn back easily. The rain was coming down in sheets now, and Mom was struggling, coughing with the exertion. "We need to go back," I said, turning around. That's when I saw him. He stood about 50 feet up the trail, barely visible through the rain and gathering darkness. He was tall, wearing what looked like old work clothes, but there was something wrong about his proportions, his movements. He stood too still, head tilted at an angle that made my stomach clench with primal fear. "Can you help us?" I shouted. "We're lost." He didn't respond. He just started walking toward us, slowly, deliberately. And I knew with absolute certainty, that if he reached us, something terrible would happen. "Run, Mom," I said, gripping her hand. "We have to run." "Sarah, I can't." "You have to. Please. I need to understand." "Some things," she said, "aren't meant to be understood. Some things are just evil, pure and simple. That mountain has been hungry for a long time." I left with a stack of photocopies and a warning. "Don't go back there. Whatever you saw, whatever took your mother, it's still there. It's always there. And now it knows you. But I will go back. Not this year. I'm not ready. But someday. Because the thing that killed my mother, that shattered my leg and my life, didn't just leave me alive. It marked me, claimed me. I can feel it sometimes, a tug at the edge of my consciousness, calling me back to Raven's Peak. 7 years. That's the pattern. 7 years between feedings. Mom died in 2019. That means 2026 is coming. That means someone else is going to climb that mountain, take that trail, and encounter that thing. Unless I stop it first. I don't know how yet. I don't know if it can be killed, trapped, or banished. But I'm going to find out. I owe Mom that much. I owe all the others who've died on that mountain over the centuries. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if he chose us randomly or if Mom was always the target. Her cancer, her dying cells. Did that make her taste sweeter, like he said? Was her illness a beacon, drawing him to her like a shark to blood in the water? I'll never know. But I do know this. Whatever walks Raven's Peak on Halloween night isn't human. It never was. And it's still hungry. The Park Service closed the old observation trail permanently after Mom's death. They put up better fencing, installed warning signs, even stationed a ranger at the trailhead during October. But it won't matter. When it's hungry, it will find a way. It always has. I keep that last photo on my phone, the one from the peak. I've blown up the background 100 times, staring at that shadow in the trees. If you look closely, you can see them. Its eyes reflecting the camera flash, 2 points of absolute darkness in the fading daylight. It was already there. Already watching. Already choosing. Mom looked so happy in that picture, so alive. She had no idea she only had minutes left. Neither did I. That's the worst part, I think. How quickly everything can change, how the world can shatter between one heartbeat and the next. I go to her grave every week. I tell her I'm sorry I couldn't save her. I tell her I love her. And on Halloween, I tell her I won't let what happened to us happen to anyone else. But I'm afraid. God, I'm so afraid. Because when I close my eyes, I can still feel his presence, still sense him watching from somewhere beyond the veil of normal reality. And I know, with the certainty that only trauma brings, that our story isn't over. He's waiting for me. On that mountain, in that darkness, he's waiting. And eventually, I'll have to go back. Because some debts can only be paid in blood. Story 2. The house on Thornwood Lane. The house at 1313. Thornwood Lane had been empty for 37 years when the Pritchards moved in. That should have been our first clue. In a neighborhood where property values soared and young families fought over listings, the fact that this 4-bedroom Victorian sat vacant should have screamed warning. But we were desperate. My husband had just started a new job, and the rent was impossibly cheap. Something bad happened here, Mrs. Chun from next door said on our first day, watching the moving truck with troubled eyes. In 1986, on Halloween, I smiled politely, thinking she was just a superstitious old woman. I wish I'd listened. My name is Margaret Pritchard, and I'm writing this account as a warning. If you're reading this, you're probably considering moving into 1313 Thornwood Lane, or perhaps you already have. If you can still leave, do it now. Tonight. Don't wait for October. Don't wait for Halloween. Whatever you think you can handle, you're wrong. We moved in on September 15th, 2022. The house was beautiful, I'll give it that. Original hardwood floors, stained glass windows, a wraparound porch perfect for morning coffee. The owners had renovated it extensively, but had never lived in it themselves. Investment property, they said when we asked why they were renting it so cheaply. Just want reliable tenants. They wouldn't meet our eyes when they said it. My husband, James, was thrilled. Our daughters, Emma, 8, and Sophie, 5, were excited about having their own rooms for the first time. I tried to share their enthusiasm, but something about the house felt off. The air inside was always a few degrees too cold, no matter how high we ran the heat. Shadows seemed to linger in corners, even in direct sunlight. And there was a smell, faint, barely noticeable, but persistent. Like flowers left too long in a vase, sweet decay. It's just an old house, James said when I mentioned it. Old houses have quirks. The first week was normal. We unpacked, arranged furniture, got the girls enrolled in their new school. Emma loved her room, which overlooked the backyard. Sophie was less enthused about hers. She said it felt sad. But we chalked it up to adjustment anxiety. Then came September 22nd. I was folding laundry in the master bedroom when I heard Sophie screaming. Not the tantrum scream of a 5-year-old denied candy, but genuine terror. I ran to her room and found her pressed against the wall, pointing at her closet. "There's someone in there," she sobbed. "A lady. She's crying." I checked the closet. Empty except for Sophie's clothes and toys. "Sweetie, there's no one here." She was there. She was all white and sad and she was crying. James came upstairs, and together we convinced Sophie she'd had a nightmare, that she'd fallen asleep and dreamed it. But I noticed she wouldn't sleep in that room anymore, insisting on sleeping in Emma's room instead. We let her, thinking she'd grow out of it. She never did. The incidents escalated slowly. Doors opening on their own. Cold spots that moved through rooms like invisible people walking. Objects disappearing and reappearing in strange places. I'd put my car keys on the counter and find them in the refrigerator. Emma's homework would vanish from her desk and turn up in the basement. "Probably just us being forgetful," James said, though he looked uncertain. New house, new routine. But I knew it wasn't us. I knew because I'd started seeing things too. Fleeting glimpses of movement in my peripheral vision. The sense of being watched, especially in the bathroom and bedroom. And sometimes late at night, I'd hear it, a woman crying, soft and hopeless, coming from somewhere inside the walls. I started researching the house's history. The county records office was helpful, if reluctant. The clerk, a middle-aged woman named Patricia, pulled the file with obvious distaste. "You live there now?" she asked, pitying. "Just moved in. What happened?" She hesitated, then slid a photocopied newspaper article across the counter. The headline read, "Halloween Horror, Local Woman Murdered in Jealous Rage." I read it twice, my hands shaking. On Halloween night, 1986, a woman named Diana Marsh had been murdered in the house at 1313 Thornwood Lane. Her husband, Robert, had discovered she was having an affair. In a fit of rage, he'd killed her. Details were sparse, but the article mentioned extreme violence and crime of passion. He'd then called the police and confessed. He was sentenced to life without parole, but he'd hanged himself in his cell 3 years later. I tried to help her. I called priests, mediums, paranormal investigators. None of them would go to the house. They all knew its reputation. "Some hauntings can't be resolved," one priest told me. "Some violence is so profound it creates permanent wounds in reality. All we can do is stay away and pray for the souls trapped there." So I pray for Diana Marsh. I pray that somehow, someday, she'll find peace. She saved my daughters. She could have used them, let Robert take them, maybe traded them for her own freedom. But she didn't. She warned us, protected us, sacrificed any chance of escape to save my girls. The house is occupied now. A new family moved in last spring. They got the same impossibly cheap rent, the same promises about it being an investment property. I tried to warn them. I went to their door with my research, my photos, my evidence. The mother, her name is Tracy, looked at me like I was insane. "We don't believe in ghosts," she said firmly. "This is just old house superstition." I saw her 2 daughters playing in the yard, 8 and 5 years old. My blood ran cold. "Please," I begged. "At least leave before Halloween. Take them somewhere else that night." She closed the door in my face. It's October 29th now. I've been parked outside 1313 Thornwood Lane for 2 hours watching. I called the police earlier, told them I was worried about the family inside. They said unless there was evidence of a crime, they couldn't do anything. "Ma'am, you can't harass people just because you had a bad experience in that house." But I can see her in the upstairs window. Diana. She's pacing, frantic, trying to manifest enough to warn them. She's so much weaker than when we were there. I think protecting us depleted her somehow, and I can feel it building. As the sun sets on this October 29th, I can feel the anticipation, the malevolence. In 48 hours, Robert Marsh will return. He'll find 2 daughters, 8 and 5, in his house. And Tracy, who doesn't believe in ghosts, will learn that some evils transcend death. I don't know what to do. The police won't help. The new family won't listen. And Diana is too weak to save another set of daughters. So I'm writing this account. I'm documenting everything. If something happens to that family on Halloween, when something happens, maybe this will be enough to finally condemn that house, to tear it down, to salt the earth it stands on. Diana Marsh deserves peace. Those little girls deserve safety. And Robert Marsh deserves whatever hell is waiting for spirits who refuse to let go of their hate. It's getting dark now. I should go home to my own family, hold my daughters close, be grateful we escaped. But I can't leave. I can't abandon Diana and those girls, even if there's nothing I can do but bear witness. So I'll sit here in my car, watching 1313 Thornwood Lane. And when midnight strikes on October 31st, I'll see what comes. I'll document it. I'll prove that some houses are genuinely evil, that some dead men never stop being monsters. And maybe, just maybe, I'll find a way to save them. Or die trying. The sun is setting now. Diana is in the window looking right at me. She's mouthing something. I grab my binoculars, focus on her lips. "Run," she's saying. "He knows you're here. He remembers you. Run." But I won't run. Not this time. Whatever comes at midnight on Halloween, I'll be here. God help us all. Story 3. The Pumpkin Patch Ritual. They called it Blackwood Farm, and every October, hundreds of families flocked there for the perfect Halloween experience. Hay rides, corn mazes, and the most beautiful pumpkin patch in 3 counties. Children laughed, parents took photos, and everyone left with carved pumpkins and memories of autumn fun. No one knew about the bodies buried beneath the pumpkin vines. No one knew that every pumpkin grown in that soil was fed by something darker than fertilizer. And no one knew that the Blackwood family had been performing the same ritual for 150 years, binding something ancient and hungry to their land in exchange for prosperity. No one knew until I stumbled onto their secret, and by then it was too late for 12 people, including my brother. My name is David Chun, and this is my confession, my warning, and my plea for someone, anyone, to stop them before next Halloween. It started innocently enough. My younger brother, Marcus, got a job at Blackwood Farm in September 2023. He was 19, home from his first year of college, looking for extra cash. The Blackwoods paid well, and the work was supposedly easy, helping with the farm operations, managing the pumpkin patch, giving hay rides. "It's perfect," Marcus told me over FaceTime. "Good pay, nice people, and I get to work outside all day. Mr. Blackwood is a little weird, but harmless. Super religious, kind of intense about farming methods, but nice. Just be careful," I said, though I didn't know why. Something about his description made me uneasy. For the first few weeks, everything was fine. Marcus would call me with funny stories about tourists, send me pictures of massive pumpkins, complain about early mornings. Normal stuff. Then in early October, his calls changed. He started mentioning strange things. "Mr. Blackwood does these ceremonies," he said. "Every night at midnight, out in the pumpkin patch. He says he's blessing the crop, thanking the earth. But David, it's weird. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment to tell me where you're watching from." Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. This is Mr. Bone signing off.